My apologies. Deputy Casey.
Thank you, Karen Corla. And I'll try and stick to the rental amendments that we were sort of discussing at the moment. The rental sector is not working and is in crisis, as we know, and is a significant element of the housing problem. Less than a year ago, Fine Gael refused point blank to consider rent controls when Minister Alan Kelly attempted them. It is through the work of Fianna Fáil that Fine Gael have finally conceded and began to act with the cap of 4%. Fianna Fáil's rental submission had 12 targeted actions, and we have achieved progress on 10 of them. While we continue to put housing at the top of our priority list, as a spokesman, I work closely with Barry Cowan to ensure that the government does not lose focus or water down the will of this Dáil to resolve the housing crisis. If these caps are not proved to work and work quickly, Fianna Fáil is prepared to bring forward our own measures to bring greater certainty to tenants. We also strongly believe that there is a need to bring tax incentives for landlords to relieve the considerable pressures on them. Rent controls need to be measured with keeping rent supply up. I agree that the definition, this is a delicate balancing act. The vast majority of landlords are responsible and anxious to keep their tenants. I am not going to demonise landlords for short-term political gain. 88% of the landlords only own a single property, and we need to transition from this unsustainable model. Today is a historic first. These are the first rent certainty measures in the history of the state. Fianna Fáil will continue to listen to the people and put their needs first. There was a period of time yesterday that we might not have been debating this bill, and that would have been a failure of this Dáil. I welcome that at least we've got to this point, and hopefully even from last night's debate and going back into the committee stage that we've learned further lessons, that this Dáil demands greater consultations about proposed housing measures from government, and I hope that future proposals are not handled in this way again. I equally want to take this opportunity to correct some misinformation that has been stated in this chamber twice in the last 24 hours by Deputy O'Brien. For the record, and let there be no doubt about it, Fianna Fáil did not get the details of these rental proposals prior to their general release. You know, Deputy O'Brien, I was at committee with you. Equally, we were all presented with the amendments together, and they were on our desk when we went back down from voting here in the chamber. I work closely with Deputy Barry Cowan in relation to our housing strategy. We are a party team tasked with delivering Fianna Fáil's policy on housing. Policy delivery, not ego, is our goal, and it will remain our goal. Deputy Cowan and Fianna Fáil are solely focused on getting housing solutions delivered as best we can, in the circumstances we find ourselves in. We are not interested in grandstanding gestures or personalising name-calling. Those deputies that continue to follow this failed politics are condemning themselves. I welcome that the Minister has conceded that the major cities of Galway, Waterford and Limerick, along with the commuter counties of Wicklow, Meath, Kildare and Louth, need to be assessed urgently, and this will take place in January. Because of our work, up to 100,000 homes will now be protected against out-of-control rent increases. This is a start, but we need to build on that, and no pun is intended there, Minister. I do have some reservations in relation to the rental pressure zones, and the Minister is claiming that the data is not available to create rental pressure zones outside the major urban centres. Having used the RTB site regularly, I contend that it is possible to clearly identify areas that have increased to meet that criteria. Commuter belt towns such as Bray and Greystones can clearly be seen as having unsustainable rent increases. And in relation to the Minister's proposed looking at a local authority area and getting down into that level of detail, equally I have some concerns in relation to this, because when you look at a county of Wicklow stature, and while it's quite easy to recognise the Bray and Greystones area has, when you move down to the more rural areas, but equally has towns like Wicklow and Arklow, The average rent in that local area will not meet the target, but yet the core towns in that are under strong urban pressure and have huge rental pressures on them, including the likes of Blessington on the far side of Wicklow, which is right beside Tala and is under immense rental pressure. But if you take the local area of West Wicklow, the rent probably will not qualify. In just conclusion, I repeat my assertions that the members of the House will be judged on their actions in relation to the housing crisis. This is the first bill to give effect to the housing crisis. There will be need to do more. I also repeat my party's commitment to working constructively, to fixing measures that are working correctly or as intended. If a policy is not working, it needs to be fixed quickly. The business of common sense approach is needed. And equally can I acknowledge the Minister has accepted our own amendments of 3 and 4 of Amendment 68. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Corla. I'm glad after